Well, hi there, everyone. I'm John Mancini. I'm with Content Results, and I do work with AIIM in preparing their Industry Watch research studies. And I'd like to welcome you to this briefing on intelligent capture assisted by AI. These are challenging times. I know many people are struggling right now with the coronavirus, and please, everybody, stay safe. And so if you want some reading while you're at home, get the free ebook that accompanies this presentation. You can get at the URL listed right there. So this survey was administered in February in an online instrument. The overall survey sample was 309. I should also indicate that 15% of the respondents were from the AIIM database and 85% from outside. So what I've done in this little summary presentation is divide the findings into 4 checklist categories. And then basically that provides some sense of some of the issues that folks ought to look at as they think about their intelligent capture implementations or getting started on intelligent capture. So the first one is that organizations need to address this question of information chaos head on. We've talked about this a lot at AIIM over the course of the last couple of years. What you have going on is basically the volume of information going up from X to 4.5X in the next couple of years. 60% of that is unstructured in nature or content. And so business information can come from anywhere, anytime, any form, and in accelerating volumes. And so you have to address that head on. So the first data point in the survey is we asked people whether they understood that there was a connection between how capture is conducted and how intelligent your capture process is and your overall strategy of digital transformation. And we divided the sample into what I call top performers and average performers based on a variety of different criteria. And so what you can see is that top performers have a much better feel for the fact that they have to embrace intelligent capture if they're going to be successful in their transformation initiatives. When we asked them what the most significant kinds of challenges they were dealing with, it goes right back to that point that I started with about the volume and variety of information. And then I think the third point, which is really interesting, because this has been an issue that's been characteristic of the content space for a long time, is some of the challenges that folks have had with integrating capture and content capabilities into line of business applications like ERP systems and CRM systems. And so those 3 things are kind of the troika, if you will, of really important challenges that organizations have to address if they're going to be successful with their transformation initiatives. When we asked people about their biggest capture headache, what you can see here, and we didn't divide the data this way, but I'm guessing that if we look at organizations that are far down the capture curve and those that are still newcomers to the capture curve, what you're going to see is that there is a lot of basic, I would call them meat and potatoes challenges still out there. Across the overall sample, things like email, scanned images and documents, paper forms, there's a lot of really jazzy things going on in the capture arena right now. But there's still a great demand for basic capture capabilities in many organizations. So the second item on the checklist is that this need to push your capture efforts to the point of origination. Now, we've talked about this in the space for a long time, but it really is very, very evident right now why you have to do that. And the reason centers around that volume and variety question that we talked about earlier. And leading organizations are moving down this path pretty aggressively in terms of shifting their effort on capture to be something that isn't done after the fact, kind of in the wake of a business process, but at the very point that information enters the organization in the first place. And so the other aspect of that, kind of the flip side, if you will, of that capture at the point of origination is that once you get started on a capture initiative, what do you do with all the stuff that you have? And the answer to this question, I think, was pretty interesting because the temptation is to do a full backfile conversion of everything that you have. And while that would be really terrific, I think it comes back to the practical aspect of how you have to approach this. And the folks that we talked to, when they were starting their capture initiative, only 22% really go down that full backfile conversion side. And I will say that if you are going through even a partial backfile conversion, get somebody outside like a service company to help you with that, or a business process outsourcing company, because it's crazy to have people standing over a scanner within your own organization when there are specialists out there to help you with that. Third element in the checklist is that, like any business process, you have to measure if you're going to elevate the strategic importance of a capability. And it kind of comes under that old rubric of, real estate, location, location, location. This is measure, measure, measure really becomes important in terms of leading organizations. And so what we found is we gave people a whole variety of different metrics they use within their own organization to audit their capture processes. And when I looked across all of those metrics and all the possible metrics that people could use, what we found is that top performers utilize a significant larger portion of them and a more sophisticated portion of them than average performers. And so again, as you get started, don't try to boil the ocean again. Take some basic metrics, but then expand those over time as the sophistication of your operation improves. And then the fourth item on the checklist is this whole question of the incorporation of artificial intelligence and machine learning capabilities to really have a significant intelligent capture capability. And so when you look at that, when we ask people this question about intelligent capture specifically, and whether you use artificial intelligence to help both automate the process of incoming information and also extract information and inject it into business processes, clearly top performers put a higher priority on that and are more effective at it, and it translates into their overall organizational effectiveness. We also then looked specifically again at the kinds of projects that people have underway with regards to AI and machine learning. And what you again can see is that top performers are more aggressive in terms of embracing these technologies. When we look at some of the elements of capture that are sometimes called Capture 2.0, my friend Harvey Spencer calls them that, some of these capabilities across the bottom axis here, again, between top performers and average performers, that red line measures the gap of adoption between those two. And so you can see that leading organizations have a significant advantage over average performers. And then lastly, I think this is a really important point to keep in mind, is that where you are should determine where you start. Now that might sound obvious, but it's really one of the key mistakes that I see people making over time, is that it doesn't do any good to hop all the way down the curve and think that you can somehow integrate seamlessly capture capabilities into every single business process that you have before you've even consolidated and thought through how you're going to do those capabilities in the first place. And so identify where you are on this progression. Are you at the point where the benefit really comes from just consolidating what you're doing and having a strategy? Then once you consolidate, you can move forward to automate. And then once you complete that automation phase, then you can really start to think about how you integrate these capabilities into every business process that you have. So make sure you get the free ebook. Make sure that you stay safe during these challenging times. And again, this was John Mancini from Content Results on behalf of AIIM, and I appreciate the time. And very deep thanks to our underwriters for this research, to Highland and Kofax and Microsoft and Parascript. And if you haven't checked out these companies, make sure you check out their offerings, and thank you again for their support.